If one thing is extremely clear after Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles addressed the media on Monday at Halas Hall, is that the team is taking the hiring of their next coach extremely seriously. In fact, Kevin Warren said this decision could impact the future of the franchise for the next 10 to 20 years. And it's easy to understand why he would say that, because if the Bears don't get this next head coach right, if they don't find the right guy, Kevin Warren could be looking for a new head coach and a new GM next time the Bears are doing a hiring cycle. Accordingly, it's clear that Kevin Warren is going to be extremely involved in this head coaching hiring cycle. After a lengthy explanation, Warren did say that Ryan Poles will have the final say when it comes to deciding a guy in the event that there is a dispute between two names. But he made it, again, extremely clear that he was going to be involved throughout the entire process, staying in constant communication with Ryan Poles. So what are the Bears looking for in their next head coach? Kevin Warren laid it all out. High standards, someone who's tough, demanding, someone who's going to foster and create a culture of accountability, someone who's creative, and importantly, someone who is a decisive decision maker. Now, Flus was certainly really creative on defense. He tried a lot of different things to get things going on the pass rush, like blitzing, when they couldn't get off the field on third down at times last season. He mixed in dime packages. It's stuff you don't see a lot of, and in a lot of cases it worked. We thought that Flus was going to be a demanding guy, holding players accountable. That's all we heard about with the hits, principles, and those things. But players inside the locker room insinuated that things might have gotten more lax. Maybe not everybody was held to that same standard, that accountability wasn't always being met. And we only need to point to the 6-game losing streak that the Bears went on, where they faltered in several clutch moments to see that Flus was not making the grade in the decision-making department. And that brings us to Thomas Brown, the new interim head coach for the Chicago Bears, a man who now has an audition to become the full-time head coach of the Chicago Bears over the course of the rest of the season. Players say he is much more demanding than they experienced before he took over as offensive coordinator. He has shown creativity to spark the offense and to get the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands more quickly, something that was lacking. But the decision-making remains to be seen, and that's what these 5 games are for. Will he act decisively when the game's on the line? When a tough decision needs to be made, will he get the play call in soon? Will there be less run around, not really knowing what's going on? Will the communication be better? Things like Cairo Santos and Torrey Taylor running out for a field goal attempt when the Bears are going forward on 4th down. Things of that nature. Will they be decisive? Will it be clear what's going on? Will there be less hemming and hawing on the sideline? Now, Brown also addressed the media today. He announced that Chris Beatty will be the new offensive coordinator, but it'll be Brown who is still calling the plays. In addition, he's going to move from the booth to the grass so he can manage the team full-time. He said he'd probably be the first interim head coach to stay in the booth if he had stayed in the booth, but he did consider it. He did consider it because the Bears did have success with him up there. Now, Brown said his first order of business will be unifying the team, citing division in the locker room as things fell apart, and that's pretty telling. But we saw that. Players were openly criticizing the decision that Flus was making in games in the locker room. And Brown made it extremely clear he wants that to stop. He said something like, "I have phenomenal neighbors, but they don't know what's going on in my house because it's none of their business." Message received. Of course, Brown also needs to make sure that Caleb Williams' development isn't derailed over the next 5 games. Brown said consistency is key, especially with communication, and he can't let turmoil be an excuse. Things are shaken up all the time in the NFL. They need to demand that things operate the same way with the same standards. So from here on out, as I said before, it's a 5-game audition for Thomas Brown to see if he is worthy of being the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. And from there, the wider head coach search will begin. For all of your updates on the Bears and Halas Hall and what to expect the rest of the season and this offseason, keep it right here with CHSN.